Okay, so welcome back to the channel. This is a very different video because I am actually putting my money where my mouth is, because you know, I'm a bit of not a SUV hater, but I'm skeptical about sporty SUVs as a replacement for a sports car. So if someone said, actually, I've got a family now, I really love a 911, but I'm going to get a Macan or a Cayenne or a Mercedes ML AMG or something like that, and it's going to be just as good and it's going to have the same driving experience, well, it's not. So Mark of Mark and Cars, who I do the podcast with, the Porsche Talk podcast, has challenged me. He said, but you haven't driven one. So I am at Porsche Reading in the UK, which is the UK headquarters of Porsche. There's tons of work going on, and I've just realised, been talking to Tina, who's in sales here, a lovely lady, and if you ever need to buy any kind of Porsche, I would urge you to come and talk to her. I'll put her Instagram on the description of the video, but they're going to turn it into some kind of a meeting hub. So there'll be meeting rooms, coffee shops, all sorts of stuff. So it's going to be a great place, and honestly, it's needed. That kind of stuff is needed. This is Porsche GB. It isn't just your average dealership. So anyway, I am here and I am in a brand new, it's got 78 miles on it, a brand new Macan GTS Gen 3. Now, so I've gone for the sporty one. It's turbo powered, which is okay, but it's not a 4-cylinder, it's a V6 2.9, and I'll run through some of the high-level stats. I'm not an expert on these cars, but this one's brand new. So it's 7-speed PDK. It's the brake horsepower is 440. It's a V6 2.9, and things like fuel consumption and things like that, I mean, it's got 25 miles per gallon combined. I'm not really interested in that kind of thing. It's got the chrono pack, it's got the Bose stereo, it's got Alcantara everywhere. There's a ton of options on it, and the price of it with all the options is £70,000. On the road it'll probably be about £72,500. So it's an expensive car, and I've had a look around it, and obviously being in an SUV, I've been in SUVs before, but this one, it's, you know, it's a massive car. I've parked it next to my 911 and it's huge. So I'm 6'1", so when I'm stood next to it, the roof line is just above my chin. The wheels are way up past my knee because I'm mostly legs. So it's a significant car on the road. I've just maneuvered it into a normal sized parking space, and I guess you get used to it, and it's got all the parking sensors, rear parking camera, it's got all of those things, and I found, you know, you're in a big car. I mean, the distance to the other side is big. The seats at the back, they're a decent size, but I would say that two people can sit comfortably. The third wouldn't be massively comfortable because there isn't really a middle seat, and the boot, although it's generous, it's not massive. It's not an estate type thing. So if I was to say, well, actually, is it more practical than my Golf R? Obviously it's more powerful, way more powerful, it's got more kit on it, but is it more practical? No. Is it more comfortable? I don't know. I mean, the seats are, the middle inserts are Alcantara. There's Alcantara in the steering wheel is Alcantara. It's a beautiful thing to touch and use. It's very sort of tactile, and there's a lot of touchscreen in the middle, which I'll talk about while I'm driving. But there's some great touches to it, but then you would expect that the GTS is stitched into the headrests. There's gorgeous stitching on the dashboard. But you expect that, you know, it's £72,500, and it's not one of those like a GT3 or some kind of limited edition 911 where you have to go on a list or you have to be approved. You just order it, and pre-pandemic, pre-chip shortage, you would have just got it as a normal wait time, a build time. You'd have chosen it, configured it, booked it, paid the deposit, done your finance, and then picked it up when it was built. Whereas now, obviously, it'll take a long time, but it's one of those cars. And in fact, the one thing I haven't said is I don't think it's on here, is the acceleration. Is that on here? Performance 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds. So it's about 3 to 4 tenths of a second 0 to 60 faster than our old Golf R. So I'm only comparing it to that because for me, if I was buying a car, I would not consider this simply because of that. But I know people consider it because it's a bigger car, people think it's safer, they're higher up, but you know, I have different considerations. I have considerations of impact of the environment, I have considerations of danger to other road users, things like that. So, but we're just assessing this as a sports car today. What's it like as a sports car, which I then use every day? Take my children to school, it's probably very docile, it's got the exhaust button that you can turn the sports exhaust on, and that is a thing to behold. So anyway, let's just start driving. I'm not going to refer back to any of these. Now, it's a proper sports utility vehicle because it has four-wheel drive, although the tyres are quite low, so I'm not sure what it would be like off-road. I'm not going to test that. So if I open the window and give it a bit of a rev in New Park, get that over here, and then turn the exhaust. Okay, they don't sound that different. It does make a difference when you're out on the outside. So let's get going. I've only got the car for a short time. I know, no, that's not fair. That's not fair. I actually only asked to have it for something like 30 minutes. Because that's how long my videos normally are, like 15 minutes. And then faffing about, I thought, do you know what? That's actually fine. I'll do a 15-minute video, but I will be out for, I'm going to go over the curb because I can. Because I'm in a giant car. Now, the thing to bear in mind, this is going to be a bit scattergun. I will say things as they come to me. So there's a lot of touchscreen. There's some buttons for the air conditioning, which I like, for the climate control. I prefer buttons because then you can do it without looking down. So once you get used to having that car, you just do it without looking down, which is great. And then there's a lot of touchscreen, you know, off-road controls. There's some directing the air and things like that. So I think, but then there's a massive screen. And the thing I worry about those things is obviously these cars are sold to you thinking you're going to change it in 2 to 3 years. And then it's not, maybe it's not Porsche's problem. Maybe it's not the next owner's problem. Or maybe it's the next owner's problem. Because, and the steering wheel is quite thin, but I quite like it. I mean, it does feel great. Yeah, it's quite thin, and the Alcantara finish, it's grey, really dark grey, kind of gunmetal. The leather is black, but it's the touchscreen, the software that's on the interface. At some point, that's going to become out of date, and I don't know if, unlike the likes of Tesla, startups, disruptors who are doing these constant updates through the air, a bit like the Apple model, it's different because they are constantly updating it, and it will continue to be up to date, will continue to be slick and have and won't be glitchy, hopefully. Whereas I don't know on other cars, VWs, Japanese cars, any of those, I don't know. What will it be like? Who knows? Anyway, another thing, I'm not going to be going through all of the sports settings. I'm not taking traction control off. I'm not going to be driving it like crazy. Remember, it's only got 78 miles on it, so I've gone up to 79 now. So, and the thing is, it's got great things like, obviously it's got oil temperature, it's got it down really well. It's digital. It looks crystal clear, and you would see it in a second if it went over. It's got the turbo bar on there, and obviously fuel, which I've just checked, and yes, there is enough fuel. And when you're so high up, it feels like everything's coming closer. Why am I closer to everything? Why am I close to the lines over there when I'm looking in the mirror? But that's because I've never driven one of these, and everyone else will be totally used to driving one of these, and I will get the usual, you know, why is this idiot driving this car? It's responsive. Actually, I need to do the exhaust. Now it's got massive brakes, but the brake feel is a little bit, you have to really give it the beans. Ooh, there's a Lamborghini STO, I think, over there. So if I go turn the exhaust on, and now it is crazy fast, and because of the size of the car, you are going, I did not turn the air conditioning down, it's on really hot, and I don't want to look down. Now it's crazy fast. When I look down at the speedo, I'm doing a high speed that I don't want to say what that is. I was, when I put my foot down. So if I do this again, that I'm already doing a mad speed, but it doesn't feel very fast because it's a really big car. So talking to Tina, she said that she did know somebody who had taken it to a track, and they enjoyed it. But the thing is, you're sat low down in the car, but you, in reality, you're sat high up from the road. So although this is still quite low relative to where it would have been my 911, because it feels much higher. And the newer the car, hatchback, saloon, whatever it might be, this is quite high, but this is quite low because it's about the impact of another car, I guess. I'm just guessing. So although I feel like I'm sat quite low, I do know that I'm really high up. I really need to turn this temperature down. Oh, there you go. Right, so I can do that now. So it was on high. I don't know why. There we go. That's better. Oh, I can already feel it cooling down. So I do know that I'm high. So when I go around a bend and I'm flooring it, it's four-wheel drive, it feels very different to a rear-wheel drive 911. So I'm not. So this is the difficulty. There's so much that I want to talk about, and I'm tripping over my words. So going around a bend really fast, I'm comparing it to the 911. 911, you feel the tires going, you feel all the, whether you're losing grip, and also you feel the weight shifting. Now in this you don't. The weight shifts in a way that it leans a little bit. It doesn't really lean because it's set up, it's so modern that it recognizes that there's G-force, it's trying to shift it that way. I'll stiffen it up that side and it won't really do a massive boat-like lean. It'll lean a little bit, but it doesn't give you that I'm hunkered down on the road and okay, there's a danger that I might lose the car and go backwards through a hedge. But this is an incredibly sanitized 440 brake horsepower, and I didn't think it would be anything else. That's not a surprise. So as much as I'd go, as SUVs go, if suddenly someone said the only car in the world that's available to anybody is an SUV, then this has got to be towards the top of the tree. I mean, I don't understand why you'd go for anything bigger like a Cayenne. Cayenne's up there with like a Touareg and what's the other one? Q7, Audi Q7. So, and the price wise, it's a Porsche. It's got a Porsche badge on it, and you're going to get the build quality. I don't know what you're going to get in the future. When people look at 996s, 997s, bore scoring, IMS, all of those things, which are sort of bankrupting you type items. Whereas this isn't, and look, now I'm cruising along at 40 miles an hour. It's a 50 speed limit, but I'm cruising along at 40, go up to 45. I've got the exhaust on, and it's incredibly smooth. There's a little bit of tire noise, but the tires are very low profile, and they are close to, they're big. So there's a little bit of tire noise. But other than that, it's very smooth. You can feel that it has sport suspension, but it's not like my 911 where you're clanging over the bumps, because obviously first thing is first, the wheels are big, and I deliberately hit a couple of those small potholes. So you feel those, but if I was to say, well, actually, where I've got proper big tyres on my 2009 176,000 mile Audi A3, then obviously you feel them very differently on that, because it's set up to absorb those and it's not set up for anything else. So it does sound great. I mean, it reminds me of, so this exhaust noise, I don't think it's channeled through the speakers, because I could hear it outside and it sounded great. So if I open the window again, now I can't put my foot down because that person in front's going to hate me. It does sound great. I think it might be funneled through the speakers, because when I open the window I can't really hear it, but I can hear it when I put my foot down. I'll have to look into that. Now otherwise, just everything that you touch, you know it's mega quality, and the controls, everything's really intuitive. It's not like when I got into I think it was a Mercedes electric car, and I thought, what am I doing here? How do you make it go? Because there was a stalk somewhere that I couldn't see and things like that. So all of the cruise control, the paddles for the gears, obviously the stalks for wipers, indicators, lights, everything like that, light control, everything is in exactly the same position. So if I'm driving a 1998 911, I get in, I know where all of that is, and I can just go. There's nothing that, unless I was trying to do something, and even the exhaust, the climate control, everything is just very easy to find. You just wouldn't look for it as you were driving the first time you got in. So I've had a bit of a look around, and I know where everything is. A bit of a look around, I spent about 2 minutes. So the first bit is, I like it. I like it for what it is, a sporty SUV. It's a big hearse going the other way with a coffin in it, so I will slow right down and not put my foot down, because that would be horrific. And the seats are quite firm, and I'm slim, so and the seats, the bolsters on the top half of the seat really grip you. The seats are obviously electric and move a gazillion different ways. They're heated, and it's got a very easy to use user interface for the stereo, the sat nav, whatever what you want to use. I don't use the stereo on my 911, but if you had a car like this, you would, because you're not tearing it around the lanes, always listens to the engine, always working on how you drive it. This is the one where you can turn your brain off and just get in. I am talking nonsense. There will be people doing a much better in-depth review of what this car is, down to the tiny detail. I'm talking about it as, when I get in and I drive it, does it make me want to go out for a drive on a Sunday morning at 7 a.m. when the roads are quiet and the sun is out? If I got out, now it's different. If my 911 was there and I had this, then obviously you're always going to take 911, because that's its function. Its function is to be a sports car, and for you to enjoy it. And it doesn't have that narrow band of, it operates solely as that, because I used it as my family car, and I loved using it as my family car. It was fun. I drove it long distances, few hours each way, and it was absolutely fine. The only thing I would do is I would get a better stereo then, because when it's a couple of hours, you do start thinking about, I do want to listen to it. It's got an Alpine period stereo, whereas this has got a Bose stereo, and it sounds fantastic. It's got all of the gadgets, widgets, all the things that you would want. So from that point of view, fantastic. And I would say, yes, I've been in some, not driven them, but see, now I can feel it leaning. I'm going around the roundabout quite quickly. I really feel it leaning. And I'm sure, but this is just, now this road that I'm about to go on is dual carriageway, and I always floor it down here, right, so 6,000 RPM, and I'm not going to tell you what speed that is. But does it feel like no, it doesn't. And because the acceleration is quite similar to my old Golf R, my wife's old Golf R, you can get a comparison. Now that car was small, it was a hatchback, and you really felt it. It was heart in your mouth, heart rate going, whoa moment where it's, although it's doing the same thing, it's really sanitized. And I like the fact that, you know, you can totally and utterly do it completely under control. I'm going to do one more run down this dual carriageway, and then I'm going to go back to the dealership, because I don't think I need to do any more. I did drive it a little bit. Right, so if I let it get to the right gear and go. So the fact that, okay, now, I didn't, it maxes out 8,000 RPM. So that was 7.5. And so it didn't make a huge amount of noise. It was leaning when I was going around the bend. And if this was my SUV and I'd gone to buy an SUV, I'd be overjoyed. It's great. I mean, it's a great SUV. It's to the pinnacle as far as I'm concerned. Cayenne's too big. Because what could you need? I mean, unless you're, you know, you have a family of giants and you don't fit in this car as human beings, then fine. But otherwise, you know, is a Cayenne going to get more bikes in it? No, you just get a roof rack. Is it going to get more cases in it? No, you get a roof box. Is it better to drive? It has to be. It has to be. It's leaning, actually does lean quite a lot. Yep. And I know I can turn the sports suspension on, but this dual carriageway, that bend that I just came round, when I'm in my 911, if the road is clear, I floor it every single time because it's fantastic. And it's a great stretch of road. Whereas in this, would I have to change setup and things like that? I don't know. So a lot of the stuff, I don't know. I am not. I am just, the purpose of this test drive was for me to get in this car and to see if I could ever live with this as my sports car and my everyday car. Or would I say, I'm going to have my crusty old 911, which is immense fun and I love it. I love it in a way that is quite logical. Or would I say, actually, and have that and then get myself an everyday car that's much more practical and much more economical and much better for the planet, like my crusty old wagon, which is a 2009 Audi A3 with a ton of mileage, and it costs £20 to road tax, and it does 550 miles to a tank of petrol. So is that better? Or is it better to have this as my everything, my sports car, because this will obviously be more reliable. I'll be able to go anywhere, put anything in it, amazing. But will I go to the tip in it? No, I won't, because it's worth so much money. But maybe I would, because if I bought it, I would. Why is this lorry's just blocked me? But if I bought it and I had the money just to blow on it, would I then use it to go to the tip? Would I have staff to send to the tip? I don't know. But anyway, that's my short review of this car, and I want to thank Porsche Reading, thank Tina for arranging it, and I've enjoyed it immensely. I had no plans to keep it any longer than this 25-30 minutes, and it is a great car. But from a sports point of view, do you know what? Yeah, from a sport point of view, I wouldn't have it as a sports car. So this is the GTS. So it's still turbo powered, but it's not the 4-cylinder. It's a V6. It's a 2.9. So it's kind of up there. It's up there. So it's the same power as the turbo. This is the information that Tina gave me as well, so I don't know. Remember, I don't know anything about these, but it's the same power output as the turbo, but it's with more fanfare, because the turbo is sanitized, it's really, really refined, and whereas this is a little bit more, you can adjust some of the settings to just give it that little bit more noise and a little bit more drama. well, the feeling of drama. It's not actual drama, because I want to park it here, because I have to really concentrate when I'm parking as well. Well, firstly, because it's not my car, and it's worth £72,000. I'm also parking it between two cars that are probably worth more than this one. No, they're not. They're worth the same. There we go. So I think what my conclusion is, it's a fantastic car. It's a fantastic SUV. It's four-wheel drive, immense power, 440 brake horsepower, 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds, tons of torque. It just goes, but it's really sanitized. You're doing crazy speeds. You look down, you think, wow, that was great acceleration. You look down and you're doing light speed. And remember, I said that about my Golf R, that it was, to properly enjoy it, you couldn't do it on the road because the horizon was coming at you too fast. You couldn't look at the speedo, the rev counter, or anything like that. Whereas this is kind of similar. Actually, it is very similar, apart from you don't get that feeling of imminent danger of the speed that you're doing, because it's so refined, it's so big. Whereas in my 911, when I push it in second and I'm doing, 65, 70 miles an hour in second, actually 70 is like really pushing it, but 60 miles an hour in second, it feels like you're doing something. It feels like you're going fast, and you know that you're approaching the speed limit. Whereas in this, you've got no idea. It's everything is beautiful to look at, to touch. The touch screen is fantastic. I think you would get fingerprints on here, but it's done really well. They kind of fade away after a minute or two. I don't know, it must have some coating on it. This car has lots of options on it. Let's have a look. So the price of this car, well, it says the standard options, it's got, because of the GTS, it comes with pretty much everything, and the base price is 64,770. But then if you go, it's got the extended leather, panoramic glass sunroof, 7-speed PDK. Actually, that didn't cost anything. Sports Corona Pack, £700. Automatic dimming interior, exterior lights, £250. Privacy glass, £333. Reversing camera, £362. 8-way front sports seats. Oh no, they're included. They don't cost anything extra. Bose surround sound, £834. These options are not actually that crazy expensive, but they take it to that next level if you were going to buy one of these. The list of standard things that this car has it's just ridiculous. And that's because it's a GTS. The GTS makes it extra special. The wheels are revised. It's a Gen 3, and Tina was telling me that Porsche don't do Gen 3. They generally, like 996.1.2, 997.1.2, 992.1.2, 991.1.2. I'm getting confused now. Anyway, so this is a Gen 3 of a model that Porsche wouldn't normally do, a Gen 3 of anything. It's lovely. If you're in the market for a sports SUV, then I would say yes, go for it. It's tremendous performance. It is fun. It's comfortable. You can get all of your stuff in. Would I want it trashed by my children? My children are pretty good, actually, but I've seen other cars trashed by, people who've got children. Would I want that? I don't know. It's a shit ton of money, but there's a market out there for it, and I understand that. Whereas for me, it's a no. I would not. Even if I won the lottery in £100 million, Euro Millions, I wouldn't buy an SUV. There, I've said it. I think I've kept an open mind, because the thing is that I wouldn't buy an SUV for so many different reasons, because they're too big on the road. They're too big for parking in normal car parking spaces. It'd be too big for a garage. If I was to build one, it'd be too big for my driveway. It's the feeling of being in it when you're driving it. When you're a passenger, I don't really think on neither here nor there. but at the same time, I don't get so much additional practicality over a hatchback like a Golf R. A Golf R, I would get more of a feel of being in a sports hatch with the same practicality. Obviously, it's much lower to the ground. It will get more damage because it'll have alloys that have even thinner tires on them. But and so from that point of view, I wouldn't have one. The true test that we were doing here was, would you have it instead of a sports car? Would you say, actually, I'll buy a slightly older 911, a slightly older SUV or another kind of practical hatch, and spend the same, if not less money, and have those two cars so I can go out on a Sunday, jump in the sports car and go for a blast around the country lanes when there's no one else around and the sun's out? Or would you go all in one, let's spend that money on one car and it's doing all of those things, and I'd still get the older 911, because that's the sports car. You don't get, this one doesn't touch that, doesn't even scratch the surface of what that gives you as a driving experience. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to get shot down by a gazillion people. I'm really sorry if people don't agree, but that's fine. And I think it's just an opinion. It's just my opinion. And I'm looking at so many cars in the car park here. There's tons of different 911s. I'm only focusing on the 911s. There's Taycans, there's Cross Turismos, there's Boxsters, there's Caymans, there's everything. So I'm going to have a wander around. Thank you for watching till the end. And I think what I owe everybody is another earworm. And I would say, go and listen to, all the way through, Shannon, Let the Music Play. I think it's from 84 or something. Go and listen to that all the way through, and it will go around in your head all day. On the previous video, I said it, Rupert Holmes, listen to Escape, the Pina Colada song, and that will go around in your head. But anyway, this is me in the Macan GTS. Thank you for watching. Please hit subscribe, please hit like, and if you like this video, I will lobby Porsche GB and Tina and say, please, can I have another car to drive? Thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.